everyone, in this video I just want to share with you why I kind of disappear for a couple weeks. I think I shared on my Instagram that I was sick, that I was in the hospital for 4 days, and that I had a lot of medicine that I had to take right after I got out of the hospital. I want to share a little bit of what happened, and I don't know, I hope that it helps somebody else out there. We left the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We packed everything in our RV and we were going to be away until Sunday. We were going to come back Sunday. On Tuesday I started to feel like I had a little tingly something on my throat, and I thought, well, I just finally got the little cold my husband had for the last 2 weeks. So I started to take some ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever, to kind of help me with the sickness that I thought that I was getting. That was Tuesday, and then Wednesday I was feeling sick, but I was okay. But then Thursday night I started to have a fever, but a really high fever. I thought, well, that's kind of weird, interesting, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, maybe I got it a little bit more strong than my husband did, and I'm gonna be fine, it's going to go away. And anyways, Friday came and I started to feel miserable. Friday was my husband's birthday, and we had to drive that day because we were going to this place and it was full. So then we went to a different place and it was full, and it was kind of a really hard day. I was feeling sick. I couldn't think right. My mind was kind of blurry. I'm usually the kind of person that it's always on top of what's next, looking in the map where we're going, if we need gas, if we need food, if we need to spend the night, where we're going to spend the night, trying to aim for not so crowded places, I wasn't there. It was like my mind was somewhere else, and that's when it started to worry me, because that never happened to me before. I could be sick, but I'm always on top of my game, especially if we're out of the house. I am the one that usually knows where we're going and when, and how many miles, how much we're going to need to drive, and kind of manage the time for the kids and everything, so we don't have to drive for longer periods. So when I was like, what is wrong with me? I mean, my mind is kind of not working. And on top of that, it was very, we had to drive that day because of all the different problems we had to drive for 6 hours just to come back to the same place that we started, because we couldn't find a place where to stay. So anyways, we came back, we went to the beach, we had a nice dinner, but I was feeling out of it. I was like, my body was here, but my soul was somewhere else. Like, I could see myself. It was like an out of body experience. I don't know, it was weird. But that night I started to run a fever so high that I started hallucinating. The next day I had fever every 3 hours, so I decided that I needed to go to the urgent care, so I did. When I went to the urgent care, the doctor told me that I had an ear infection, even though I didn't have any pain. She gave me some drops and she said, you're gonna be fine. By tomorrow, these things are gonna be working and you're gonna be just fine. So then I tried to get the drops. They were kind of hard to find. They were expensive. They were about $60 with my insurance and everything. They were $60. I had to chase them down from CVS to CVS to try to find it. That night we decided to come back to Utah, and when we did, we had to spend the night in Las Vegas because, of course, we just couldn't make it all the way here. It was such a long day that, with me going to the hospital, and it was a crazy day. So we spent the night in Las Vegas, and there I was running a fever. I was miserable. I try not to wake anybody, but when you are sleeping in an RV or motorhome, everything, it's in like one room. So if I had to go to the bathroom, I would have to, the dogs would wake up, and sometimes the kids would wake up. I had to and I've asked my husband to move so I can reach the bottom and just go to the bathroom. And you know, it was hard. It was hard to, just that last couple of days, I felt like I didn't know what was going on. My mind was, like I said, I couldn't think. I can't even think of the word to describe how I felt in my mind. I just couldn't think about anything. It was like blank. Saturday we came back. So when we were coming back, I still had a fever. I was miserable. I spent most of the time sleeping or trying to sleep because being awake, it was painful. All this area was really swollen since probably Thursday. So the doctor did see it, and she said that it was normal, that when you have an infection in your ear, it can get this big. I still have it. It's pretty swollen, but it's not huge. It used to be really, like, I had an extra half neck of how big this was. I knew something was up, and I knew that wasn't normal. I knew that she was telling me, and I even asked her, can I please have some, medicine to take so I can feel better on the way home, because it's going to be a long drive. And she said, well, there's no evidence that you have an infection anywhere else, so I'm not going to prescribe an antibiotic that you actually don't need. So that's why she gave me the drops. Now, I did do the drops, every so many hours. I think it was every 6 hours I had to put a few drops, 4 drops. And I did, and it wasn't working. It wasn't doing anything. I just didn't have any pain on my ear. And I thought that, it wasn't working. When I got here on Sunday, I spent the day in bed. My husband and the kids and everything put everything out from their RV. They were taking care of the food and stuff. And by nighttime, I was worse. And that's when I told my husband, let's go to the urgent care here and see what they think. When I get there, the doctor says, you have no ear infection. Your ear is red, but it has nothing to do with an infection. You have something going on in your neck. You have an infection in your neck, and you have to, take antibiotics. So he gave me a shot of antibiotics, and that helped me. It made me feel better until 1 a.m. that night. He said, take this antibiotics. He prescribed some antibiotics. I went to a store and grabbed them. If within 24 hours if they're not working, you're still running a fever, then you come back, because we probably have to give it to you through an IV. So 24 hours later, I was worse. I was feeling really sick. I called the urgent care where I was going to go. The doctor was busy. I decided to go to the hospital because he said anyways that I would have to get the IV. When I got to the hospital, I swear that I thought that I was dying. I was feeling so sick, and I didn't have any relief because I had no medicine was working for me. And when I went to the hospital, like, everyone looked at me like I don't know, like I was dying or something, because like everyone would look at me and like, okay, yeah, just sit right here. And then the nurse would come, and then they would take me, and it was just so fast. When I was inside the emergency room, they had at one point they had 4 different nurses, 2 putting 2 different IVs. Another one was taking blood from another from here, and another one was putting everything on the computer. Then there came another person to put the labels on the stuff that they were doing, and it was crazy. I started to feel a little bit more anxious because I was like, what's wrong? I mean, I've been to the emergency room and I never had so many people work on me at the same time. So when the doctor came, he explained that there was an infection in me, that they couldn't find where it was, and that I needed to stay because they needed to have it under control before they could send me home. I didn't actually want to come home because I knew that it was going to be miserable anyway, and if I was there, at least, they could see my fever, they could see everything that was going on and kind of keep an eye on me. The doctor told me that they had, I need to get some scans of my neck just to make sure that I didn't have like a bag of infection in my neck, because it was huge. So that I had all that done while I was running a fever. There was no medicine that was working with my fever, so they had to put ice on me so the fever would go down. I felt hopeless. I really did. There came this point where I'm like, well, I mean, if this is God will, I mean, there's nothing I can do, you know? If I'm going to try to get better, but this is just getting to the point where, you know, you start to lose hope when you see that it's been 2 weeks and you still running a fever, you're still hallucinating, you're still feeling the same way, and each day you're feeling worse. It's kind of discouraging. So the doctor told me, well, give it 48 hours. We did the scan. There's nothing really wrong there. So my guess is with the antibiotics that were running through you, because at one point I had one IV on my left one, another IV on my right arm, and I couldn't just bend my arm, so I had to be like like a zombie all day long because I couldn't bend it. I had something here where they were pulling the blood from, and they were doing 2 different antibiotics at the same time. So they did that all Monday night, all Tuesday, and then I started to feel a little bit better on Wednesday. I did run a fever a couple times that day, and then on Thursday, that night from Wednesday to Thursday, I didn't run a fever at all, and I started to feel better. I still had a lot of, swelling in this area. I had a lot of neck pain, like whenever you get, when you can't move your neck, I had that. I had a lot of headaches because of the caffeine. I wasn't getting any caffeine, so once the nurse realized that I was, having this headache, she mentioned that I should have a little bit of soda or something to help me with the headaches, and that helped a lot. I started to feel better on Thursday. So they sent me home. They sent me with medicine for my stomach, so I could take the very strong antibiotics that I am still taking until tomorrow. I've been feeling better since then. They said that it was something called quinsy, which is a complication of a tonsil thing. But they're just guessing because they have nothing that will, there's no test or something that would show them exactly where the infection was. But they're thinking that I had some kind of bacteria that started to grow in this area. It's not because of something you eat or you drink or it gets through your ear. No, it's something that they don't even know when. But maybe at the time that I was getting that cold, just right before Thanksgiving, that might be just the perfect set for the bacteria to start acting. So it might have been just there and it didn't have all the elements that it needed to create that infection. That's what the doctor said. So there wasn't anything that I could have done to prevent this infection. It was just there. It was waiting to happen. So anyways, long story short, I went to the doctor yesterday. She said that I am doing great, that I still have to keep an eye on all this inflammation that I have here, and within a week it should probably go away, if not to come back. But I'm feeling better. I haven't taken any kind of Tylenol or Motrin or anything for just a few days now, and I have no fever. I feel better. It was just a random crazy thing that had to happen to me, and it's not very common, but people can die from it, and that's why they kept me in the hospital. It was a life-threatening thing. That's why I had to stay, and the doctors were glad that I continued to push and see a different doctor just to get to the bottom of what really was wrong with me. And I guess the moral of the story is, the doctor told me if I stayed home and I did listen to the first doctor who told me that I had an ear infection and just to put the drops and wait for 24 hours, 48 hours more, I could have died. The infection was moving very fast, and it was moving downward, so it could have gotten things where you can't really fight an infection. It could have taken an organ that really they can't do much about. So they were happy that I kind of insisted, went to the other urgent care, and when the other urgent care was busy, I went to the emergency room, and that I, kept pushing to find what was wrong with me. I read yesterday in the news that this lady, she was a 20-year-old mom of two who went to the urgent care, and they told her that she had the flu, and then the next day she was so bad that they had to take her to the hospital, and she actually had pneumonia, and she died within 24 hours of going to the urgent care, where nobody realized that she had pneumonia. I understand that doctors are not perfect, that they have an educated guess with this kind of thing, but I do understand too that we have to be really careful with our health, and if something doesn't make sense, you need to continue to push, to go to another doctor, to see another clinic, to see, and continue to push through this, because you know better. I mean, you know your body, and it's actually the doctor jobs, to find what's wrong with you. So it's been a challenge this last 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks now, if I'm counting, Thanksgiving and everything. They've been such challenge for me. I'm losing hope for a bit, because I knew how, the severity of what was going on with me and how I felt. I've never felt that way. I remember they were asking me about my pain and how I was overall feeling. I'm like, I had 3 kids with no anesthesia. I mean, I had no epidural. They tried with one of them, but it never worked. So I can tell you that this thing that I went through, it's been worse than all the pain that I could have with childbirth. I mean, it was really worse, and not even worth it because you have no baby afterwards. But it was such a learning thing for me. It made me be more thankful for things that I wasn't thankful for before, and it made me see that we really are responsible for our own health, and we have to push it. We have to push people when we realize that something is up, something is wrong. So I just wanted to share this with you guys, just in case that you ever feel this way, you feel sick, and just go with a second opinion or a third opinion if it's needed, like I did. But it's really important that you listen to your body and that you realize what's wrong. Something is up, well, then we have to find out what it is, and I guess that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Anyways, tomorrow I'm gonna try to record a few videos and share it with you guys soon this week, so stay tuned for that. I'm back. I'm excited. I'm feeling better, so I hope that you join me this week for the videos that I have prepared for you guys even before I left for Thanksgiving, and some of you guys' requests. So thanks again for watching, guys. I truly appreciate it. This is what happened to me, and I thought it was really something that I needed to get out of the way before moving on to the beauty videos. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on my next one.